Hey, Tori, welcome to Keep What You Earn. I'm so excited to have you here because number one, I know everyone's going to just get so much out of this conversation. I love chatting with you, but also I'm just excited to unpack more about you. And actually, this is one of the blessings of having a podcast is I get to know people I've met even better in these one-on-one sessions. So I'm just stoked. Can you just tell everyone a little bit more about you and who you are?
Yes. So I am a small town Iowa girl who has a strong passion for helping women be seen, feel attractive, and be confident. And I am on a mission to accomplish that here on this earth.
I love that. And how do you actually do that?
So I do that through my virtual styling business where I help women refresh, realign their wardrobe to attract higher level opportunities, to become their best self, to step out of that old Ben. And, here we are in 2024. So, it's new you, new wardrobe. And that's exactly what I do.
I love it. And I know that you specialize a bit. This is what I've known you for is that you're specializing in helping people style events. And when you said that too, I actually saved this question for the episode. When you say style for events, you mean like when you're hosting, you're on stage, you're attending, all of the above? Like what is your specialty there?
Yeah, so love styling for events. That is completely, you're right, Shannon. That is my jam. That is my bread and butter, primarily for speakers. So I am huge on helping women feel confident when they're on stage because sometimes that can be really intimidating when you are speaking at an event and you just want to go up on that stage. You want to feel confident. You want to feel like yourself and you want to make sure that you're reflecting your brand and your brand mission. And so my bread and butter is really helping those female speakers get up on stage, feel confident in what they're wearing and their image. And also you're taking a ton of photos at events. And so we've all been there as women, right? And men, where you take photos at events and you look at it and you're like, what the heck was I thinking about wearing this? And actually I work with women also on posing. So that is one of the biggest things is like, not only am I going to make you feel confident in your clothes and help you find that perfect wardrobe that feels like you and reflects your brand, but also how to actually pose with that wardrobe. Because sometimes we have this blazer on or a top or a pair of pants that are wide leg and you're like, how in the world do I make this look flattering? So that's what I also help with. And then also I do help with styling for event attendees. So there are quite a few of my clients who I work with who are attending a lot of different business conferences, women conferences all over the world. And they want to go in there and they want to stand out. They want to be seen. They want to feel attractive. And so I do help women with that as well.
I love it. And I know from experience and from speaking to women, especially, okay, guys, you don't understand how much goes into like how many brain calories we burn with what to wear, especially if we're going to be on a stage. And here's the thing, we are, I feel like half the stress or half the reason we're hesitant to get on a stage is because we don't want to, or we're not confident enough to be like, oh my God, I don't want people like, what if I'm like wrinkled? And what if it's too, like, I'm, popping out a muffin top here. Like, I don't want people to judge me and be staring at me because we're so image conscious. And I think that people underestimate how much of our mindset and how much of our headspace is going toward what we look like being a reason to be seen or not be seen. You agree?
Oh my gosh, completely. And I actually know some speakers who their number one rule is they must feel they must feel comfortable, on stage, because you can have a really dynamite wardrobe, but if you're not comfortable, it is distracting you from your message. And so that's my job, is literally to make you feel comfortable and confident at the same time, which can sometimes be a tough balance because we're wearing heels or we're wearing a stiff blazer or pants that are super tight, and so finding that balance is really important because feeling comfortable is important not to distract you away from what your message is when you're up there.
Yeah. And I think that what people often assume, right, is that okay, so if I'm going to be speaking on a stage, or if I want to pursue more speaking or more presence, right, being seen more and being on these stages, I need a whole new wardrobe. I need to completely revamp. I need to be wearing some of these like neon, sparkly, whatever suits that I'm seeing these women wearing. Like I have to keep up with that. What's your response to that?
If that makes you feel confident and you're not doing it for the rest of the world, go for it. But I think you need to also take a check inside yourself and make sure that that's what you want and that's what's aligned with you and your brand and your mission. And you can go up on stage wearing whatever you want. I mean, I know speakers that go up there wearing sneakers, jeans, and a t-shirt. And then I know people who are wearing, these sparkly suits and sandals that are wrapped all around their leg and just like all the way up to their knee. Like there's so many different styles, but the fun thing is really about what I do is just helping women find that style that's meant for them and then giving them permission to actually step into that. Because a lot of times that's all we need as women is just that permission. And that's exactly what we do is just come in and give you permission to wear what you want and where you want it.
Exactly. What are some of the first questions you ask a client who wants to step into a new confident self on stage? What do you unpack with them first?
Internal. We were just talking off camera here, and it's so funny because, styling is such an external thing, it seems like. And, your wardrobe, like you walk up, you see somebody and it's like, boom, you see their outfit right away. But actually the first thing that I dig into with clients is who they are as a person and what they want to reflect, how they want to be known in this world and what they want their wardrobe to say about them. And then I also go into, the first part is really diving into who you are. The next part is really diving into your brand and your business, your mission, vision, values, all of that. And then we focus on the wardrobe and the styling and all that fun part. But really it starts from the inside.
What would you say, what type of question would you ask a new client that you think would help start that conversation?
What question? I'm sorry, say that one more time.
What type of question would you ask a new client that would help get to the root of that exact thing? So do you take them through a process? Do you ask them certain questions about themselves? What are the core things that help you unpack that internal so that you know what to do?
Yeah, so it's really just asking them questions about what their vision is, like where are they wanting to actually go? Like who are you now and who do you want to become and how do we fill this gap? What do you have to achieve? Who do you have to become in order to get to this person that you desire to be, that next version of you? And so then we really dive into more like the confidence is always number one. That is the first and foremost. Number one response is I want to feel more confident. Okay, great. How do we do that? What part of you is lacking the confidence right now? And how can I help empower you to then feel that confidence that you desire? So then when you walk into that room, when you walk out on that stage, you look and you feel the part, because honestly, Shannon, that radiates more than anything else. It's like you can have this gorgeous wardrobe. You can have a really cool hat. You can have a really awesome, blazer on. But if you're not radiating that confidence from the inside, then nothing else matters. And that's what truly like where your power and your purpose comes from. And so that's really our first step in everything that we do.
I agree. I think, but you also live that too. So what's funny is we met at Girlfriends in Business in Arizona, and it's hard to miss you. You also had, I think, 3 outfit changes during the course of the day because you also were doing some photo shoots and stuff. And I was like, I love this girl's style. I love this girl's outfit, which is exactly what you were going for. Because I didn't even know what you did. And then I was like, oh, this makes total sense. So Tori had this stellar outfit on. But then what's cool is over the next 3 days, I actually got to know you better. And I was like, 100%, I was visually like, okay, cool. That girl's outfit's awesome. That could be the end of somebody's interest in you. That could be. Is like, they could acknowledge that and say, and okay, cool. But then I spent more time with you too. And I was just like, it completely matches her level of enthusiasm and energy. She puts the effort into this that she does. I feel like you do everything with energy. And I said, she's just also doing that with energy. And that's, I think, exactly what you're trying to do with clients as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. And thank you, by the way, because that is one of the greatest compliments that I could receive is that my style and my energy, my personality all matches, because that is what I preach. But to your point is actually, so I did do a few, 2 different wardrobe changes and, or no, actually 1 wardrobe change during the 1-day business conference, had 2 different outfits. And so, but I want to focus on that for a second because anybody can do that. And I actually believe everybody should be doing that for business events. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, I did have my photographer with me and we were documenting everything for content, but why shouldn't everybody be doing that? We all need to be documenting content left and right. And when we're at these business conferences, sure, we're investing in ourselves, but also we're investing in our clients and our business because that's bettering ourselves. And then we're pouring into our business, which is then making it a better overall experience for our clients and everybody who we work with. So the reason why I did the wardrobe change is truly not because I'm a stylist at all. If I was actually in your field as a fractional CFO, let's say, I would still be doing it because the reason is, yes, more content, but number two, attraction. People, you have no idea how many conversations were started in that room because people are like, you did a wardrobe change. I was like, yes, I did. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. And I was the only one out of 60 women who did a wardrobe change. But it was because it shifted the energy. It shifted the focus. It it created conversation. And that is what every single person is trying to do. Every business owner, just more conversations all the time. And so it switched that energy. It switched that conversation. And it was just like a massive conversation starter that led to so many more contacts that I probably would have never met before.
I love that. It's a pattern interrupt because it was also we turned around and we're like, Tori, when it was mostly like how fast you did it. And like, when did that happen? Like we were just at lunch and then we come back for the afternoon session and we're like, she looks totally different. And it was like this like Superman, whatever phone booth moment where I'm like, where did she even do that? Like, where was she? I just saw her 5 minutes ago. So it was super cool because it was also seamless and it didn't detract from the event or have you miss an opportunity to do something because you were getting changed. I think that's something too that people are like, oh, like I don't want to take all the time. Like there's a way to do it. I don't know how you did it. It feels like magic, but you did it. But the pattern interrupt was really cool too because it called attention. And I think that why are we so scared of that? Why are we so scared of creating attention and kind of throwing I'll say this, we got a lookbook for that event, remember? Or we got something that was like, you did it actually, didn't you?
Yeah, I remember. I'm actually just now sending the one this time for Lori too, just literally today.
Okay. Okay, guys, listen. She did a lookbook that was like, Lori sent out a thing that was like, hey, if you need a point of reference on what to wear, which is super helpful, look at this. This is a good example of some stuff here that you can use, which by the way, phenomenal move for your business, by the way, because that's a really good way of like, hey, like here's a taste of what to expect. But also what's cool is, look at that. But I think people are afraid to deviate from that. People are afraid to look different. People are afraid to do something different or to stand out. Why is that? And what is your take on it?
I couldn't agree more. I think that's the whole mission that I'm on, is to help people feel more confident in being different, being unique, and being okay with attracting. Like being attractive, number one, I think is a huge thing, is being okay with being attractive and attracting other people and making a bang, like literally making, just like that was. It was like, it was a pattern interrupt. And I'm going to be honest with you too. Like just because I did it doesn't mean that I wasn't a little bit nervous about doing it, because I knew that there was nobody else in the room that was probably going to do that. And so I knew that I didn't want, my biggest fear personally, and this is just going deep within myself, is like, personally, is like, I don't want people to think that I want it to be about me. And that's like my whole reason of why I didn't want to do it. And truth be told, I was just thinking about this yesterday. So it's really funny that we're talking about this. I was just thinking about it yesterday. And I was like, should I do that again here in about a month when I go to Girlfriends in Business? Should I do another wardrobe change? I'm like, dang, maybe I should do 3. Maybe I should bump it up. But then, like, truthfully, I was thinking to myself, I don't know if I'm going to do it this time. And the only reason why was because of that F word called fear. And it was fear of people judging me, fear of people thinking, oh, she just wants to get attention, or, oh, she just wants to make it about her. When in reality, that's not the case at all. It's because I want to meet more people just like you. And so it's sometimes just getting out of our own way and pushing fear to the side. And really, like, I know people are always like, don't care what other people think about you. We're humans. Like, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. We care. We still, it still crosses our mind no matter how much personal development work we've done.
Yeah.
And
And well, okay, so let me unpack that for a second too, because this is fun. So again, like worst case scenario, you do it again. And then people like, okay, they think that because there were out of the 60 women in that room, we're women. Come on. There were a handful that were like, this chick thinks she's the shit. What is she doing? She's trying to make it about her. She's taking some attention away, blah, blah, blah. And like some people judge.
mm-hmm.
Who the fuck cares? Because they're not, because I'm like, they're not paying. I'm like, then they're not going to hire you. And it's okay. And like, did it affect you that day? Did you feel any sense of judgment in that room? And did it actually affect you?
I didn't, but also I had to literally have a mindset if I was going to do that, like I did. I had to have the mindset of, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because the second that did it cross my mind for 1 second? I'd be lying if I said no. It was I a little bit nervous to walk in and have a different outfit on and people like notice and people think like, oh, she's trying to steal the show. Absolutely, I thought that, but I literally got rid of it in a split second because I literally couldn't give a crap what other people were thinking, because the only people that God wants in my orbit, my life, and are the people who are like, that was pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. That sparked an idea for me. Dang, you know how many women came up? My only thing is if I help influence one woman in that room to do something like that, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
And so
it's worth it. It's worth all the other stuff. It's completely worth it. And yeah, my version of that would be, I have this fear, we'll say fear, hesitation, whatever it is, that if I show up a certain way, that I command the comments of like, you clean up nice. Wow, you really tried today, or whatever, because I'm not known for getting super glammed up all the time. I get once in a while I do, but it's a pattern interrupt for me to be super high glam. And then of course it commands comments. Even if they're complimentary, I'm like, I just don't want people to go, that's different for you when I look nice. Because it's a weird, like backhanded compliment in a way where it's just kind of like, I'd like this to be normal. I'd like to just be like, like acknowledge it. But it's always hard to accept those like observations, people pointing stuff out, even if it is like something you tried to do. I think we just feel this weird shame around trying too hard.
Yeah, that's interesting too. I wonder, is it weird sometimes when you do you try to push away the attention?
Sometimes, yeah. It's like, I don't want to be command attention for the way I look or have people point out things about the way I look. It's kind of this weird, like, ooh, like then I want to like shrivel up in my corner and be like, don't look at me. It's kind of like a shyness thing I've had since childhood, but it's like that comes up a lot where it's like, I don't want to. And we talk about like women at events and on stages. You got people with a really big, important thing to say, but they have so much insecurity over how people are going to nitpick how they look or what people are going to think. And we're focusing on all the wrong stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard too, because I think what you're saying is, thanks for sharing that, because I think that's really something that a lot of women actually are more like than me in that sense, where I'm kind of used to being the extrovert going out there and I don't mind getting attention and having that conversation with them about like image and because that's my expertise. That's what I do. Right. But then a lot of people are actually more like you were. They don't really care to have that attention on them, but you have such a large purpose and a large calling in this world that it's actually disservice if you're not getting the attention and talking to those people. I'm not saying you have to be an extrovert, but people need you and people need your gift and your calling in this world. And so that's what I love doing is like somebody like you, for instance, who's like, yeah, you know what? I don't need all the attention. Like, don't come up and talk to me about like, hey, you look awesome. You look beautiful. You look gorgeous. Like I don't need that, but thank you anyways. It's like, how can we create something? It's almost more of a really fun challenge for me to be like, all right, beautiful. How can we create this like amazing look for you where it doesn't necessarily draw a ton of attention to you, because that makes you feel like uncomfortable and want to, stand back a little bit. But how can we create an image where you're like, you walk in there as a little different, like you walk in with a little bit extra like Shannon swag, that's what we're going to call it. You walk through those doors a little different. And it's like, where's that fun little balance? Because not everybody needs to be loud and like, with their wardrobe. And there is a certain wardrobe that you can have where you walk in with a little bit of extra swag going on, but it's also not like flashy. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. Because you brought up in our initial chat was like some people really prioritize comfort. And by comfort, we don't mean joggers and sweatpants and stuff necessarily. Like comfort is also like comfort in your own skin where you feel like you're not tugging at things, insecure, spending mind space on like where things are and if things need adjustments and whatever. It's more about I feel at ease where I can focus on the right things without worrying about this. I feel like that's the comfort you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah, completely. And I mean, sometimes clothing wise too. I mean, for all the women listening to this podcast right now, we all know, like when we step through the doors at home, we want to toss off our bra because it's like way too uncomfortable the entire day. And Amen. So when you're on stage and if you have this speaker, this is what she actually does. She never wears a bra on stage because she like sews in the padding. And it was so funny because this actually happened in pageantry. I never wore a bra on stage for pageantry because I literally had it sewed into every single one of my outfits for Miss USA. Every single one of them. Because what I didn't know at the time was I was actually eliminating that distraction of discomfort. And when you eliminate those distractions, just like literally anything in life, when you eliminate the distractions, then you can focus on what's more important. And so I was focusing on my performance more than being super uncomfortable in my clothes. And same thing with speakers. So there is a way of like eliminating some things, on your wardrobe physically for comfort. But then, also there's the more internal side of things too.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good point, actually. It's like, how can you eliminate sources of discomfort so you can focus on what really matters? And in a weird way, that's also part of what you're doing, is you're like stripping away layers of discomfort to accomplish whatever it is, whatever the goal is for the client. And I think it goes way deeper, Tori, than like I help people style their outfits. Like, yes, that's the visual component. Like you have a visual product of what you do, but I think that it goes so much deeper than that. I want to unpack that a bit more. And I want to dig into, you mentioned Miss USA. So we haven't talked about that, but we're going to talk about that in the next episode because I want to hear more about your background and kind of how you came into that and go through a bit of your business and how you've built it. So we're going to continue this conversation tomorrow on the next episode. All right, we're back with Tori Kruse. Now, if you didn't listen to yesterday's episode, go back and listen to that because you have to. This will help you. This will help you understand this conversation I'm having with Tori about. So she's a personal stylist, but beyond that, that is a very superficial description of what you do. It's really hard to find a label, honestly, for that. But I think that what Tori does is we talked about this in the last episode, unpacking the internal aspects of what it is to compile an image and to have it reflect your brand and who you want to be and your vision for your business and your persona all in one. And I want to dedicate today's episode to going a little bit deeper with Tori on her background, her history, but also how this business came to be and, how you're building it. So I'm excited to dig in. First question. So you mentioned at the end of yesterday's episode, Miss USA. Can you just give us a little bit of this like pageant background and how that contributes into your business now?
To say a little bit is going to be a little difficult because it was not an overnight success. Let me tell you that to begin with. So back in 2015 is something that really, something really hit me. I had this life-changing like aha moment. At this point, I had graduated college. I had already competed in pageantry just 2 times while I was in college. In 2015, I decided to compete for Miss Missouri USA, and I was at my pageant coach's house in Little Rock, Arkansas. And she said, Tori, why don't you sit down in that chair right there? I got to teach you something. I said, all right. I have no clue what's coming here. And she said, one thing that every single Miss USA has is the it factor. And I thought to myself, what in the world does she mean? And I had no idea what that meant at the time. And so we got back up, started training, practicing my runway walk. By the end of the session, she gave me a book called The Secret. And she said, now go home and read this. It's all about the law of attraction. And I said, okay, whatever that is, And so I went home and I started reading this book. And what I didn't know is a few years later in 2018, I became Miss Missouri USA because I finally developed that it factor. And what I discovered later was that it factor was actually the attraction that, and for me, it's that God given, the Holy Spirit within inside of you, in that attraction that you have for other people and other opportunities and other things. So when you walk into that room, people know that you were there. You are attracting these opportunities naturally and organically because your light and your purpose from within you is shining straight through, and it's literally undeniable. And that whole process was 10 years of really discovering before I started my company, which I founded on mindset and confidence coaching. So I'll kind of stop right there, but I did end up competing at Miss USA in 2018, and I found that it factor, baby. I was like, all right, I found it. Here we are. Let's do this thing. But it was a lot of internal discovery and personal development until I even became close to winning the pageant.
And I have to ask this, was that like an aspiration earlier on in your life, or was it like Lord, if second grade Tori would not believe that we're here right now type of thing?
Absolutely not. I had no clue what Miss USA was in second grade. I was an athlete through and through growing up. I grew up with an older brother, which actually, Shannon, you met at the event that we were at. And as you could see at that event, and for everybody else who hasn't met my brother, he does not cut me any slack. We give each other crap nonstop. And I grew up a little bit of a tomboy with a huge sense of humor and sarcasm within me. And so I played sports. Basketball was my jam growing up. That was everything to me. And that's what I focused on until I went to college, and I didn't play basketball in college. And one day I was sitting in my dorm room and I was like, all right, now what the hell do I do? Just go to school? Like, I'm not competing in any sport. This seems boring. And then that's when I saw an ad for Miss USA come across my screen on Facebook, and I gave it a shot.
I love that. I always find that some of those types of opportunities, like, it's just so funny how it's on a whim you answer a Facebook thing, or it's on a whim that an email shows up. I literally have my husband because of an email that came across my desk that I didn't delete. So like, who knew? It's just one of those things where it's so random, but I think people also assume that people in pageants, right? It takes a lot. So I think that there are some folks who go like, was that always like, did you see yourself doing that when you were younger? Were you in it when you were younger? I think we just get a lot of that like honey boo boo content in our brains, and we're like, we just think it's all like from childhood, but 100% it's not. But I think that's super cool. I actually have a friend from college that competed in, oh, she'll kill me, Miss Earth or Miss Universe, one of these. She competed as Miss Cayman, and I don't think that she did not win, but I watched the whole process, and it's just so intriguing because it's a lot more than aesthetic. It's a lot more than a look. There's a ton of preparation. You guys don't understand how much discipline it takes to do this. Do you agree? It's a lot.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to pause you for a second though. It's not Caitlin Tyson, is it? Your friend from Cayman Islands. Okay,
No.
that's, it's a small world. You never know. But my friend is she was former Miss Cayman Islands. And so that would be
my friend probably knows her though.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, it's a really small place. And they asked me to judge Miss Cayman Islands Universe this past year, actually. It's one big, so it's funny you say of all the countries that compete at Miss Universe, Cayman Islands. But yes, the discipline is just, it's crazy. But the coolest thing is that it did teach me a lot about personal branding now. And I think there's a lot of moments in all of our lives where you look back and you're like, wow, I had no clue what it was teaching me then, but it taught me so much for where I am now.
Love it. Okay. So people would assume, right, that, and my favorite thing is assumptions that are typically wrong. But assumptions, what is it? When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
Yes.
It's so cliche, but I love that statement. So True. It's like, you've got this brand, you've got this styling business, you were, formerly competed in pageants, but you have this like down to earth, sarcastic background of like being kind of a tomboy, which is definitely very relatable. I can relate to that. And I think that's super cool that you can, like, it's not what you do doesn't define like who you are or what's important to you. That it's not like a superficial, oh, well, like I'm judging what you're wearing or I'm judging how you're dressing. It's like, this is just how I choose to show up. I think that, do you find people are like self-conscious about like when they meet you, do they go like, oh, sorry, like, like I'm a personal stylist, and they're like,
you're like, oh, well, you probably wouldn't approve of my outfit. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
exactly.
no, like I'm not judging you. I actually hate when people say that because it's just like, no, like they don't see my heart in it, right? It's like, sure, that's what I do, but that's not who I am. And it's one of those things where, I mean, that's probably when I get to know people the most too, is when they say something like that. Cause I'm like, oh man, this conversation is going to be fun. And but I do get some of those comments, but it is a lot of pressure even for me to show up, like going to the grocery store, for instance. I mean, it's always sometimes it's a battle in my own mind where I'm like, okay, so I preach, be a walking billboard for your brand, which I can't tell you, I've probably gotten more clients just by randomly looking the part, like in a grocery store, in an airport. Oh my God, so many clients from airports. And then like just randomly, like sitting at a nice restaurant bar and talking to people or a coffee shop. And it's because I look the part wherever I go, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a lot of pressure sometimes that I put on myself, because I'm like, okay, if I just want to go out and get some groceries and like, or a smoothie in sweatpants and a hoodie and no makeup on, all right, should I do it or should I not? And sometimes I do, most of the times I don't, because I'm always thinking, I'm like, you never know who you're going to meet. And there's other times where I also, don't give a crap. And I'm like, all right, well, this isn't the time to meet somebody too. And I'm going out in my hoodie and, sweatpants. But there's a lot that goes
in a
along
way.
with it.
It is, but it is like law of attraction, right? Because it's just like, if you're just like, hey, we've been there. Sometimes you're just not in a mood to talk to people, or you're just like, I'm living in a hotel at the hotel Starbucks between workouts. Like, I'm not looking to pass out a business card or network right now. Like, there is a time to network, and sometimes we're just not at our best. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we just don't have the energy. And I think that it then can kind of like present itself outward. But I completely agree with you. Even if you're not a stylist, I think people can heed that advice. Like, you're always a walking billboard for your brand, and your brand may not be in the aesthetic, like in the physical realm of like styling. But if you can show up with and command, I think it's just the energy. You command the confidence and you just like command attention, then it will just spark a conversation, even if it's not, specifically around fashion or anything like that. I think that's really good advice.
Yeah. And I think there's also a thing too, where not everybody's your client, or not every time I go out, I'm scouting clients. I mean, it's just relationship building for me. And I just genuinely, I don't know, God put something inside me when he made me that it was like, this woman loves people. And I love learning about people. I mean, it's just one of and my parents are the same way, especially my dad. He's like social butterfly constantly.
Love it.
And it's like, I don't know, there's just something within me that I just love relationships, and I love just really getting to know people. And I think it's so, it's one of those things. Have you ever heard people say, oh my gosh, it's so shallow to ask like where people are from, or there's another one, but it's always like, where are you from? What do you do for work? What do you do for work? People always like hate on those two questions. I actually completely disagree, because it is such a conversation piece, and you can piggyback off of those conversations. And if somebody, for instance, I live in Arizona, and there's so many people from the Midwest that live out here, and it's an instant rapport builder when you're sitting next to somebody and you say, where are you from? And they say, Minnesota. And I'm like, no way. I was like, I'm from Iowa. And then if we start talking football, or we start talking about our passions outside of even what we do for work, it's an instant rapport builder. And people want that relationship and that rapport with somebody. And that creates trust, whether it's a friendship, relationship, business partnership, whatever it may be. And so I always like to flip those on its head and actually play devil's advocate.
I love it. And we were talking about this before we hit record too, because I brought up like, one thing I'd love to ask you, Tori, is what it's like having a business the way I phrased it was built around aesthetic. And what I mean by that is you have a physical product in a sense. You are a service-based business, but your physical product is your appearance or the appearance of your clients. And you have something where you can be that walking billboard in a very literal sense. So, and I was like, well, like, what's my version of that? Walking around with, profit figures and dollar signs and like, what do I do to be like, this is a CFO, you should work with her. Like, imagine me walking through an airport getting clients versus you. Very different context, like very different place where I'm going to find clients. And you were like, oh, I want to talk to you about this. So I want you to respond to that type of comparison.
Yeah. So I love this. I think it's awesome. And I really want to get you a jacket that just has like a big like dollar sign on the back. So then when you're walking through it, so then when you're walking through the airport, it's just talking about a conversation piece.
I actually have, well, for what it's worth, we have Keep What You Earn merch. And that was actually an intentional thing. It was like, I actually put shirts together that says building a legacy, not a lifestyle. And I was like, I want to start conversations with that and be like, that's my podcast. Like that's part of my brand, with sayings and with statements on it in a very literal way again, but there's also that like more subtle way.
Yes. Okay. I love that. Number one. Now it's all coming out here that you actually have shirts.
I actually do have that. Yeah.
No, I mean, that is definitely one way that you could do it, but it just goes back to what we were talking about too, is like, the questions that I ask people, my clients, when I'm actually onboarding and we're working together, like creating this perfect style for them, is like, sure, my, brand is styling, but even before I had a styling company, people would make comments about like my energy actually. And when I was doing mindset and confidence coaching. And so it's not always your wardrobe attracts the conversation. So the really important part is like somebody like you that, you're in the financial, you're in the money business. I say money business because it sounds way more fun, but you're in the money business. So you can't, you're kind of behind the scenes is, you're not a styling company. So what I would do with something like that is really dive into that first part of who you are, what you want to reflect, and what do you want your image to say about you. And make sure that you feel confident in exactly what you're wearing, because the biggest part is your wardrobe is a conversation piece. So getting a set of clothes that are actually conversation starters. So you may have on a t-shirt, but then you have on let's say you're traveling and you want to dress a little bit more casual. Let's say you have a t-shirt on, you have a jean jacket, and then you put on a hat that says your brand, Keep What You Earn. Or you just have something else that's a little bit of a spark, a little bit like if you wear a hat like this, which I know you're not into like the crazy loud.
No, but I actually, I have a shirt that's across the whole thing is I deduct that. So like,
oh my gosh.
So, So, and then we were going to do a hat of the same, which is so funny. You mentioned that is like, I deducted this or something like that. That's a fun little like, huh? Like it starts with a, huh, that's cool. And then it goes into, here's why I'm wearing it.
Yes. And people ask questions about it. So I would say the airport's the number one place to meet people. If you're walking around an airport with your headphones on and you're a business owner or you're in business, which is hopefully, most everybody in the world, I don't know what you're doing. Take off the headphones. Like this is the place. There's people traveling worldwide. They're walking right beside you. Like you never know who you're going to meet in an airport, and take that opportunity. Like you're all stuck in an airport or a smaller airplane, right? Talk to the person next to you and make that connection with them. But back to your wardrobe, it's your energy too. Your energy speaks louder than anything. And so that's why we make sure that your wardrobe is actually reflecting who you are as a person. And then also if you can add in that extra business component, like your branding, when you're at an airport is huge. Now, when you're at an airport to wear something like that hat, I always wear my jean jacket that has unexpected on the back and all bling because that's the name of my book. And that strikes, I wear that all the time when I travel because it strikes attention and it strikes up conversation. And it also gives me like this really cool sense of energy. Whenever I put it on, I just am like, I feel equipped. I don't know. It's just like that feeling. And so I want to make sure the same thing with you, no matter, what your business is. It's like, let's just find a wardrobe that works for you, that exudes your personality between like the colors of your clothes, the fit of the clothes, little pieces that we can accentuate like the most beautiful parts of your body to like your business, everything. So there's multiple ways. And then your energy is what actually attracts because of how the clothes make you feel.
Right. Because you can wear anything, but the clothes aren't what's going to, they could start a conversation, but you're going to end the conversation or
Right.
you're going to continue it with what your energy really exudes. And to that point, exactly, like I just said, like to wrap this up with, how I met you, like it was a conversation that continued because I was like, I really like her freaking energy, because it could have been like, she has a cool outfit on. Nice to meet you. You know what I mean? But like it continued because you exuded that and showed a genuine interest in getting to know so many women in that room and starting conversations and contributing to those conversations at lunch, that I was like, okay, this girl's pretty cool. I like her. And that's what we have to do is, it's so easy to dismiss. I love that you just said like meet people in an airport and take the headphones out. I am so guilty of that, but I'm like, wow, that's like the best networking place ever, that you would meet people you would never meet otherwise. Like, what an interesting concept.
You know what's hilarious? It's actually to this day one of my best clients. She who has actually purchased one of my largest packages ever in the history of 5 years of my company. I met her in the bathroom in San Diego airport. I came walking out of the bathroom stall. And now this is like two extroverts, right? I mean, she's like even more extroverted than me, if that's even possible. But I came walking out of the bathroom stall. I had on my pink denim jacket with unexpected on the back. She didn't even see that part though. I just came walking out of the bathroom stall and she goes, oh my gosh, I love your jacket. I was like, thanks, girl. I was like, you haven't even seen the back of it yet. And I turned around. She's like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. And actually so anyways, we stayed in touch. But the kicker is that whenever I travel, I always bring about 3 or 4 books with me. And whenever I feel a nudge from God to give somebody my book, I give them my book. And it's just something that I feel called to do. And so when she complimented me on my jacket, I was like, oh my God. She was like, what's unexpected to me? And she has this vibrant personality, just adore her. But she was like, what's it mean? And so then anyways, I ended up gifting her my book and she read the first 4 chapters on her next flight. And then she reached out to me and she was like, I got to work with you, girl. And to this day, we're still really great friends. And she became just a dear friend of mine and client. And so it just goes to show that, I mean, yes, she became a client, but also she's a dear friend of mine. And so you just never know what kind of relationships are going to form. But again, it goes back to what we were originally saying, Shannon, was like how, you do have to step outside of your comfort zone. You do have to be willing to get attention. And it is uncomfortable sometimes. And there is sometimes a time and place where you don't want attention. But most of the time, I would say it is so positive. The blessings and just the gifts and everything, the situations that God will bring to your life when you actually get that attention and you strike up conversation with people, because most people just want to be known and most people want to be seen.
Attention is an opportunity generator.
It is.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Tori, thank you so much for this conversation. If people do want to, now, first of all, we have to say the name of your book because you didn't mention that yet. And then we have to go through how people can get in touch with you if they want to learn more about working with you.
Yeah. So my book is called Unexpected: How to Persevere Beyond Your Limits. And you can find the link to my book and really everything in my Instagram bio. So you can purchase my book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, any big name bookstore. And yeah, I would love to have a conversation with you guys. Like I said, I'm a huge relationship person. I love getting to know people, getting to know your passion, getting to know what makes you tick, and helping you stand out in this world. So if I can help at all with you for your business, anything, please reach out, send me a DM or click the link in my Instagram bio, official Tori Kruse.
Amazing. Tori, thank you so much for this conversation. I always enjoy talking to you.
This has been so much fun. Thank you for having me on, and I am excited to see you soon, hopefully.
You too.